to implement the mitigation efforts. And lastly, the third thing that that protocol did was that it set binding targets upon certain developed nations that they have to reduce their emissions by such and such amount. Now, let me again explain it in a very simple manner. For example, there is an industry in, say, France. It emits 100 units of carbon dioxide. Now, say after the protocol, its renewed target is 80 units of emission. So basically, it does some kind of interventions, back filters, precipitators, converters, and finally, it is able to reduce its emissions to say 85 units. Still, it is having a shortfall of 5 units. So this is where this concept of carbon credit kicks in. We are the ones who can sell these 5 units of worth carbon credits to such a firm such that it can meet its targets, and in return we can have some amount of revenue. So this is in a very simple crude way the explanation of this concept. Now, what is carbon credit? If I am able to reduce the emission of 1 ton of carbon dioxide, or if I am able to absorb 1 ton of carbon dioxide or equivalent, then I am able or eligible to earn 1 carbon credit. Who all can do it? Anyone? A smart city? A municipal corporation? An NGO? A private individual also? If he is able or she is able to basically reduce the emission or absorb that much amount of carbon dioxide, anyone is eligible to earn carbon credit, and then he or she can further sell those earned carbon credits to such firms who are in requirement of it. It is totally a market based mechanism, just like shares. You can sell it. Now, here comes the beautiful question. Actually, can this theory be used to make money out of it? To answer this question, let's look at the journey of Indore Smart City. Around 3 to 4 years ago, we delved into this field. We started with merely 3 projects. First, we were making manure from our waste. Second, we were making biogas from our wet waste and then dehumidifying it, compressing it to convert it into CNG, which was again being used in our own buses. And thirdly, we had many micro level solar plants installed here and there across the city. We clubbed them together and formed one project. So these 3 projects we started out with. We had a complete process of data collection, data validation, registration, verification, issuance, bank trading, and after a gap of total process of say 9 to 10 months, we were able to earn around 1.7 lakh carbon credits. At that time, price of 1 carbon credit hovered around zero point 0.5 US dollars. So we were able to sell them. We earned around 70 lakhs of rupees. But having earned that, we became the first city in whole of South Asia to have earned from this mechanism. Now here comes a very interesting part again. We all know after that COVID struck, and as all municipal corporations, Indore was also very busy in mitigating the effects of COVID. So we were not able to register any new project in those 2 years. But these 3 projects which we registered, they were still ongoing. They were still reducing the emissions or absorbing the emissions. So again, in this second verification cycle, we earned almost similar amount of carbon credits, around 1.7 lakhs. But the price of 1 carbon credit, which was zero point 0.5 US dollars, that shot up to more than 6 US dollars. And in this September itself, by selling those carbon credits, we were able to earn more than 8.5 crores of rupees. So that was a huge success for us. Now, having earned that much amount of money and having seen the potential of this sector, Now we have registered almost all the projects, be it the sewage treatment plants, be it the solar lighting, be it the efficient lighting, be it the decentralized composting that is happening in our homes. Almost all the projects now we have registered. And second, we have come out with an aggregator model, which I shall be talking about. But now here comes the question. Kyoto Protocol came in 1997. We were able to earn in 2018 around, or 17 or 18. It took us more than 20 years. And still we became the first city in South Asia. So there must be some kind of a catch due to which other cities, other smart cities, other even rural bodies are not able to participate in such markets. Let's talk about that catch. First, just to register a project, we have to pay a registration fees, which hovers around 10,000 US dollars. तो भाई 7 से 8 लाख रुपया तो शुरू में इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ता है विदाउट इवन हैविंग अ गारंटी कि कल को 1 रुपया भी लौट के मेरे को मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा. तो दिस अमाउंट ऑफ रिस्क is usually never to be seen, especially in government bodies, because we do not have such a budgetary allocation for such expenditure. Second, price fluctuation. As I just mentioned, कि भाई हम 0.5 से more than 6 चले गए, and now the prices just tanked after Ukraine crisis, and we are hoping कि फिर price बढ़ेगा. So dealing in such a speculative, I wouldn't say speculative, I would just say fluctuating market, again, it's very difficult for government departments. Third, even if you are able to say earn carbon credits, where are you going to sell them? There is no stock exchange, there is no market at all where we just go and tell that this is the amount of carbon credits we have. There is no market. We have to go and reach out to individual buyers, tell them this is the amount of carbon credits we have out of this mechanism, this project. Do you want to buy it? If yes, at what price? Then we compare the individual bids and then we come at a price discovery. Again, this amount of effort requires a dedicated HR. Again, such HR is rarely to be found in our government setup. Then comes another big question. We have to appoint auditors. We have to appoint designated operational entities. Those amount of efforts again require some capital. Then the process itself is very complex. Basically, majority of the players which are dealing with this market either are North American or European. And the standards that we have to meet in order to prove that we have earned this much amount of carbon credits is so high. For example, just to illustrate it, we wanted to register 56,000 households in Indore which are producing compost. And just to register that project, we had to submit 56,000 logbooks. This is the amount of documentation which is required in order to prove. It's a foolproof mechanism. You just can't say हवा हवाई कि हमने इतना काम कर लिया इतना reduction हो गया. Every reduction should be real, should be measurable. Only then we are allowed to earn money out of it. Again, such kind of efforts, they require dedicated HR. So these are some of the problems I just highlighted, due to which majority of the players are prohibited from entering into such markets. And what are the projects in which one can participate? It can be afforestation, deforestation, some of the afforestation, reforestation, some of the activities which almost every urban body is doing. Second, industrial activities, catalytic converters, precipitators, back filters. If someone is installing, he or she is eligible. Waste management, as seen from the example of Indore. Solar, hydel, all such activities are eligible for carbon credits. So till now, we have seen the theory part of it. We have seen practically it is possible. And we have also seen what are the hindrances due to which majority of the people are not able to participate in such markets. And thereby, by looking at all those things, Indore Smart City has devised this aggregator business model. So let me talk briefly about that model. Now there are many cities जो काम कर रहे हैं इस पे, और मान लीजिए वो 5 लाख या 6 लाख या 7 लाख रुपया वो कमा सकते हैं इससे हर साल. अभी मैंने कहा रजिस्ट्रेशन कॉस्ट ही 10 लाख है, $10,000, वो लगभग 7-8 लाख रुपया हो जाता है. तो ऐसी सिटीज के लिए तो फाइनेंशियली वायबल ही नहीं है ये ऑप्शन पे जाना, जब एक्सपेंडिचर ज्यादा है रेवेन्यू की तुलना में. तो ऐसी सिटीज को ही केटर करने के लिए ये एग्रीगेटर मॉडल बनाया गया है. तो एग्रीगेटर मॉडल में ब्रीफली बताऊं क्या होता है. इसमें बेसिकली इंदौर स्मार्ट सिटी कम्स इनटू एन अग्रीमेंट with a different entity which can be further a smart city, a municipal corporation, a rural body, an NGO, an industry, even private individual, बशर्ते उनके पास वो काम किया हो जिसमें इनफ अमाउंट ऑफ कार्बन क्रेडिट्स आ सकते हैं. भाई ये नहीं कि 100 रुपया कमा सकते हैं, 200 रुपया कमा सकते हैं, उसका वर्थ नहीं है इस पूरी प्रोसेस में पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए. Once we come into an agreement, then the process starts. The process begins with basically the combined efforts of Indore Smart City and the client body. We identify the projects that are eligible to earn carbon credits. After that, once we identify the projects, we start with the project process of data collection. And there comes this process of data validation. Then we have to choose which particular mechanism is best suitable for that kind of project. We have, as of now, plethora of mechanisms like GES, GCC, VCS, plastic credits, gold standard CER, gold standard VER. There are so many mechanisms, and each mechanism has its own set of guidelines, own set of rules which allow certain projects to participate in this mechanism, and each mechanism also has a different kind of value in the market. One carbon credit that we can earn from a gold standard mechanism, it might be 10 times as valuable as compared to the one carbon credit we earn out of GES mechanism. Because the level of documentation, the level of scrutiny which is required in different mechanisms is on a different scale. Now comes the identification part of the mechanism, then we register the project. As I told, 100% risk is borne by Indore Smart City in this aggregator model. Say it costs C1 rupees to register the project. C1 rupees will be borne by Indore Smart City. Then comes the part of taking on board the auditor, the DOE. Say it costs C2 rupees. Again, C2 rupees will be borne by Indore Smart City. After that, the field verifications will be done. Non-compliance reports will be generated. After that, we have to do the documentation and give the compliances for such reports. And finally, we are able to basically grab carbon credits. And there is something known as issuance fees. It is around 0.15 US dollars per carbon credit that we have to pay to the issuer. Say it costs in totality C3 rupees. Again, Indore Smart City is going to pay C3 rupees. And lastly comes the role of bank. As I just told, majority of the markets as of now are located either in North America or Europe. So either we are earning pounds or euros or dollars. After selling those, but we want to operate in INR only. So we have to pay some charges to the bank also in order to convert the currency. Say that is C4 rupees. Again, C4 is borne by Indore Smart City. So now whatever the gross proceeds that we get, we deduct C1, C2, C3 and C4 from it to arrive at the net revenue. And whatever net revenue we generate, it is divided equally between Indore Smart City and the client body. Now, let me now briefly tell about what are the benefits for the clients to participate in this model. There are three majority of benefits. First, we are not talking about investing in a wholesome new project. We are talking about whatever projects that smart city or municipal body is basically undertaking on a regular basis. If those are green in nature, then we are just talking about delving into those projects. First, no investment on the part of client. Second, no upfront charges to be borne by the client. As I told, only those upfront charges include C1, C2, C3, C4. Payment by the bank to the issuer, to appointment of DOE and registration. All these four charges shall be borne by Indore Smart City. So basically, there is zero upfront payment on the side of the client. What the client has to do? Only three things. First, clubbing with Indore Smart City in identification of the projects. Second, facilitating the visits of Indore Smart Cities officials and the auditors on the field. And third, the documentation part, the data collection part. These are the three things that we require from the client body. And last, the most wonderful aspect of this model is the aggregator aspect. As I briefly mentioned around 5 minutes ago, भाई ऐसा कोई शहर है जो 5 लाख या 6 लाख रुपए कमाने वाला है. अब 10 लाख रुपया खर्चा करके 5 लाख कमाना तो कोई बुद्धि वाली बात नहीं है. But what this market allows us is bundling. We can take one project from Varanasi, one from Murena, one from Chennai, one from Tripura. We can club them together and form one project, form one bundle, and then go on registering with that bundle. So then the economies of scale automatically allows us, because then the registration cost and everything gets divided in those 4 5 cities, and thereby making those cities projects which were not economically viable before, now they will be financially feasible. So these benefits of aggregation which is provided to the cities is the hallmark of this aggregator model. Till now, we have collaborated with more than 30 cities in around 3 to 4 states. But in times to come, Indore Smart City is seeing itself as that we should be basically try to involve as many cities. Yesterday, Gang Talk, during their talk, was very inquisitive regarding this. Many cities have the potential because almost all the cities have delved into such projects in one form or the other. I think forestation हर कोई कर रहा है, STP हर कोई कर रहा है. Biogas production is such a common thing nowadays. Biogas. Biogas is 25 times more potent as compared to carbon dioxide. So if I am able to reduce the emission of biogas of 1 ton of biogas, then I am able to earn 25 carbon credits as compared to 1. So biogas almost हर body कर रही है. तो these are the basically एक रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम जनरेट करने का ये बहुत अच्छा अवसर है जो इस एग्रीगेटर मॉडल के द्वारा वी आर ट्राइंग टू प्रेजेंट टू एवरी सिटी. So this was in, I think, quite detail the whole concept of carbon credits. Thank you. Hello. I think it's audible now. Um, I think one thing which was mentioned yesterday was very important, that smart cities allow you to take decisions at the city level. So the board of the smart city is totally capable of taking such decisions,
Support
and
startups
such
virtually
decisions do
through
not
mentorship.
need to be basically then go up to
A chance
the
to work with
higher levels
incubators
of
that
velocity,
can
and they don't take much time to come. So I think that was never an issue with respect to the delays in the registration
5% of the
process.
total corporate.
To approach the industry. So once your projects were done, then you started approaching the industries for this exchange of credits. So can we cross the boundaries of our country, or it has to be within India only, the industries?
No, basically the buyers are outside India only. There are no buyers as of now in India.
Okay.
In India, this market is in very nascent stage, and we do not have enough buyers. Rather, not just, I would say, there are literally very few buyers who are willing to buy carbon credits in India. More than the clean development mechanism which came earlier, now the voluntary markets have taken up, especially in countries in Europe and in North America. All those mechanisms that I just mentioned about VCS, CES, GES, all those are voluntary markets. So currently, those are operating only outside India.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to the point. I'm Aditi Garg. We had undertaken the whole process initially. So just to answer your question, uh, the the part of understanding what investments you need to make, that comes only after you have identified your projects that you need to take up. But the bit that you asked specifically about what kind of investment you would be making in terms of the audit and whether you would take the decision to do that, that is very easy to do once you have identified your projects and you know what kind of a return you are likely to get. So it is a step by step process. First you identify your projects that you want to take up for carbon credit, and it is a fixed sum that you need to invest usually. So it's a no-brainer that once you are able to identify your projects and you want to list them, listing is very simple. I mean, I'm sure it's been explained earlier, but it works like the stock exchange. You know, you go with your product, you get it listed. Whoever is interested in investing in your product will buy the carbon credits and you will get the revenue for them. So that entire process is only a process fee of sorts. Once you are in the game, once you have completed one cycle, the remaining years where you will be generating the revenue, the consistent revenue for the 30 years, you don't have to keep repeating the same process every time. You just have to undertake that process once, and then it is a multiplier effect that happens. So as is the point of the discussion today, it is very important for cities, for CEOs to look at this long term. You know, we keep saying that our honorable prime minister has declared that India is going to be carbon neutral by 2070. But you as CEOs, have you decided what city date is your carbon neutral date? What year is Gangtok going to be carbon neutral by? What date is Indore going to be carbon neutral by? What is the date for Delhi? What is the date for Bombay? So you decide what you want to achieve from this. You have to realize that this is a wagon for turning around your city, right? It's a golden opportunity for India, and I feel especially for urban economies and urban cities, because you are here getting an opportunity where you have reasonable amount of freedom and decision making. You can take a call of what kind of investments you want to make in the city, and you can actually launch your city on the path of green economy. So take that plunge, and it's a green carbon credits is a methodology by which we as citizens of this country can ensure that we are still able to provide the access, jobs, the opportunities to our own citizens that perhaps we have missed in the past 1 decade. So it's very important to for cities to rethink their working, their programs. And a lot of times I'm approached by CEOs asking me how the whole process was undertaken. Look, processes change. India has now become a signatory to the latest Paris Protocol, so the process will change. But the broad formulae of attaining carbon credit still remains the same. आप शुरुआत तो कीजिए. There is a Urdu couplet which says, मंजिल मिले ना मिले इसका गम नहीं, मंजिल मिले ना मिले इसका गम नहीं, मंजिल के जुस्तजू मेरा कारवां तो है. आप घर से गाड़ी निकालिए, तो आप शुरू तो करिए. Let us start on the journey of carbon credit. Let everybody start thinking about it. You go back to your offices tomorrow and start thinking of what projects you want to list, and then you will get the support that you want. You will get the right decision makers in place. So let's start with that first step. That's my advice to anybody who's embarking on the journey.
Yeah, I wanted to ask one question, that because there are a lot of private parties involved, there is a PPP model for processing the waste. So this revenue generated through the credit, it falls under the kitty of the municipal corporation of the smart city, or the PPP players, how it happens?
So basically, we need to be very careful while we devise our RFP. We have two kinds of RFP, other three kinds. First, in which we deliberately write that whatever the offsets of carbon that we shall be getting as a process, we shall be taking the ownership of that. Second, we have those kinds in which it is specifically written that the party which is coming, that will be taking the ownership. And there are third type of RFPs which are very ambiguous in nature. Those lead to basically issues at a later stage. What we all also have been facing now that we have been entering into this market on a very large scale. Now we are taking a look at almost all the RFPs, and there are many RFPs in which there is not even a mention of it, quite naturally. So in those circumstances, issues will be faced, but I think we should be very careful while devising such.
I just wanted to add to that. There is also the point of ownership of asset. So suppose you are the electricity distribution company of a state, and you have invested in carbon neutral initiatives or carbon reducing emission technologies. So by default, since you are a government organization and the investment is yours, hence the carbon credit revenue will accrue to you, right? So even if as a smart city you are undertaking the carbon trading on behalf of another company, the asset ownership will determine who the carbon credit revenue accrues to. But since a lot of cities are now thinking of aggregator model, newer dynamics are being developed, and asset ownership can still remain with the parent company, but carbon credit revenue sharing models are now in place. So that can be incorporated very easily.
Thank you so much. Do you have any last thought, ma'am, before we close up the session, which you would like to tell the audience?
I usually share this with many CEOs who have spoken to me one on one. And the one thing that I do want to put on record here is that we are going through a very tumultuous time in carbon trading and carbon exchange internationally. Like I mentioned before, India has become a signatory to the latest Paris Accord. That means that the revenue that we are likely to get from trading a single carbon credit can be anything from $2 to $10 to maybe tomorrow, once India becomes a signatory, to $500, right? So you have to be careful about whether you want to put all your eggs in one basket right now, or you want to wait till things are clearer. But it is very difficult for public policy makers to tell people who are CEOs of cash strapped and starved smart cities that नहीं नहीं अभी आप सेल मत करो, आप रुको, मैं 2-4 साल बाद आपको बताऊंगी, तब आप सेल करिएगा. That doesn't work. So my advice is, get in the game, pick up your projects, start the process, approach and find who your buyers could potentially be, try out a couple of exchanges, but at the same time, see what is happening at the national and international level. Understand that you could perhaps get a better price if you just wait a little while, but undertake the journey, start the journey, because the journey will, the culmination is of course the selling of carbon credit and getting the revenue, but getting there is a long process. आप अगर आज उस प्रोसेस में शुरू करेंगे, तब जाके आप ये मान सकते हैं कि maybe within a year you will be able to reap the benefit. So get into that now. There are other ministries, the environment ministry is already involved in SOPs, the urban ministry is talking about it. So standard operating procedures are coming into place, but you as the city chief administrator, you need to know, ye mere projects hain, this is the investment that I have made, and these are the projects that I want to sell out, and these are the projects which will become the showcase of my city. The second very brief thing that I want to make here is that when we go to international buyers and we start pitching our projects, we need to create a brand. For example, when we went for Indore, we said that Indore has been the cleanest city for the past 5 years, and hence investment in clean and green initiatives will continue to be made. So that has to be very clear from your side. Suppose it is a new town, smart city. They have to create a brand for themselves, right? Branding is very important. We are part of the government. It is only us who can present the best picture for international investors and create the best image for those willing to put their money in the smart city as to what the picture of that smart city is. What is it? What is the story that you want to tell for your smart city? आज से 2 साल 4 साल 5 साल बाद आप अपनी स्मार्ट सिटी को कैसे जाना चाहते हैं, वो आज आपको डिसाइड करना पड़ेगा. The time for that is today. So pick up your pen and paper, decide the projects that you want to sell, and start building a brand for yourself internationally. Because unfortunately, there isn't a national market for carbon credit. So we are now at an international stage. And आप ये मत सोचिए कि अरे वो किसी एक शहर ने कर लिया तो हम लोग नहीं कर पाएंगे. It is not like that. When we started with Indore, we did not have anybody to handhold us. We did not have any roadmap. हम लोग को बहुत लोगों ने ये कहा था कि तुम लोग से तो नहीं होगा, तुम लोग इसमें क्यों पढ़ रहे हो? But we still decided to go ahead and do it. And now that we have done it, we are at least able to tell other people कि देखिए हमने ये कर लिया, आप भी कर सकते हैं. So my simple request and advice is, please do it. Please take it up today. This is one of the greatest things that can happen to any smart city, and reap the benefit of that today. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rishabh ji and Aditi ji, for all your thoughts and all the processes that you have gone through and sharing that with the crowd. We would now like to start the next session as well over here, because it's a half-an-hour session. Please stay back to attend on climate change adaptation now, if you're interested in that topic. So thank you, everyone.